What is up, Bills Mafia? Welcome to another live edition of Shout a Buffalo Bills football podcast. We are here inside Wingnutz, North Buffalo, Froth Brewing Company, and I'm joined, as always, at the start of our show, Ed and Alicia. Thank you so much for opening up your home to all of us. How are you?
We're doing great. Thank you very much. Before I start the story, I just wanted to give a quick shout out. First of all, we're very thankful to God every day for the success of Wingnutz. And I'd also like to shout out to Buffalo Wingwear for the great hats. So thank you guys. Thank you very much. Here's our opening story. So as football season approaches, every year Buffalo Bills play at home and Wingnutz gets pummeled by people from the opposing team city. They fly into Buffalo and they take Ubers straight to Wingnutz. So our dining room and all of the outside area immediately becomes filled with luggage. So many that sometimes people forget about their babies in the strollers.
Is this the story they tell you when you meet them? Have they told you this story? That's why they come from the airport? Have they told you the story?
Well, we know because they come straight to eat first.
No, but I think it might be because they want to take all the chicken wings home back with them in the luggage, no?
Yeah. Well, as Alicia would say,
we're going to need a luggage check, not a coat check in the new place.
That's awesome.
That's how it is, too. So we're ready for a fifth year of it. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen again.
We're ready for another Buffalo Bills season, and obviously things are heating up for Wingnutz. We got some big news here that's dropped over the last couple of days. Wingnutz is coming to Amherst.
Yes. At the plaza inside of the hotels where the Marriott is, we're taking over the Santoras right by UB. So all you UB folks, get ready. All you hotel folks, when you come into Buffalo, you won't even have to take an Uber to get to us.
Awesome stuff. Let's give it up for Ed and Alicia. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'll take that from you. Thank you so much. We'll bring in Ryan Talbot. So listen, this is a special shout edition. I want to hear from the Talbot family. Oh, yeah. Olean, pretty much 75% of the city of Olean is inside Wingnutz tonight. I'm so excited. I got to meet Diane. She was all excited. She thought she was all starstruck. I was more starstruck. I've been waiting for this meeting forever. Ryan's mother, she's so supportive of everything we do. This has been a really special day.
This has been a really special day. Family here. I have a ton of friends here in the back as well. Mrs. Rogozinski, Mrs. Bowser. I worked with them before I officially became a teacher, and they came out here today. They're the reason I teach 17 years later. Also, birthday shout out to Karen Rogozinski. Thank you so much for coming out.
This is an awesome day. It's 716 Day in Buffalo. So people are celebrating all over this great city. And what better way to celebrate than a little beer, couple wings, and some Bills talk. And we're going to talk a lot of Buffalo Bills here over the next 30-ish minutes. And I was thinking about show ideas, right? Because we have a lot of show ideas that we have for the next couple of weeks leading up to training camp. And I thought the spiciest show we can do is bold predictions for the 2023 Buffalo Bills. And I thought it was symbolic in a way because there's a new chicken wing that they rolled out this week. What's it called, Ryan?
The Tangy Talbot wing. And let me tell you, Matt, people here are trying it. Nothing but rave reviews. Let's make this special a permanent fixture.
So definitely. And listen, we were going to wait for the end of the show, but I think this is the perfect transition. We got the man, the myth, the legend right here. You see this trophy at home? Can you get this whole trophy in? I got to fix the camera because I can't even see it all. Look at that thing. We have the Wingnutz Chicken Wing Eating Contest champion for 2023, Big Stan Bundy. You can find him on Twitter, by the way. Can you tell us how many chicken wings you ate yesterday?
27.
27 wings. How many chicken wings did you eat today?
I had 10 Tangy Talbot wings. They were delicious.
He had the Tangy Talbot, right?
Good man.
So I wanted to ask you a quick question, and we're going to get to the Bill stuff in a minute, but this is some big time deal here. What was it like wing after wing? Because listen, I've eaten a Wingnutz chicken wing. They're not a lightweight. You were playing in the heavyweight division yesterday, my friend. So I want you to tell me how you did it. 27, that is a huge feat.
That's like eating about 45 regular chicken wings. So, I just figured out the math. 24 seconds a wing was my goal. And I was just checking out my competition to see if anybody could outpace me. By the end, I realized I had it won. So I just enjoyed the last 2 minutes and just, crunched down a couple wings while I waited for this big trophy.
Right. What have you done with the trophy today? Have you gone downtown, maybe paraded around on Main Street?
I've gone downtown. I brought it into Wingnutz.
All right, good.
I'm meeting, greeting people, getting a lot of congratulations everywhere I go with this thing.
All right, let's give it up for the man here. Awesome performance. That was really cool. I saw a couple pictures. It was impressive, a little bit overwhelming, I will admit. But great job. Good job, my friend. All right, let's get into this thing. Ryan, we are T-minus 10 days from the start of Bill's 2023 training camp, and there's a lot to get into. I let you start things off, and you're coming off the top ropes from the start here with these bold predictions. Why don't you drop it on people? What is your number one boldest prediction for the 2023 Bills?
Okay, boldest prediction. Dalton Kincaid, first round pick of the Bills, breaks the single season tight end record for the team. Paul Costa currently owns it. 726 receiving yards in a season. So really, when you break it down, it's about 42 yards a game in over a 17-game season. I think that's pretty doable for Dalton Kincaid. They're going to line him up as a tight end. They're going to line him up in the slot. A lot of ways to utilize him and get the ball. So that is my boldest take, breaking Paul Costa's team record.
I think I sent some type of expletive back your way when you sent me that because I wanted that one. I really like it. I like Dalton Kincaid's upside for 2023. And one of the biggest things that people keep asking me is like, how do you fit Dalton Kincaid's role into this offense? You have Stephon Diggs. You have Dawson Knox, who they're paying $12.5 million to this season. Gabe Davis. And oh, by the way, they brought in a couple guys that are veterans in this league, Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield. They have Khalil Shakir on the roster. How do you envision that playing out in terms of his role from the jump? Do you think it's all systems go from the start, or is this something that's going to get dialed up over the course of the season?
I'm expecting to get dialed up over the course of the season. This team does slow play their rookies a little bit. You do have Khalil Shakir, someone that I mentioned as a sleeper in a 23 questions for the 2023 season article, mentioning that his snap count, he was up about 25% or more in the last 3 games. So I see him having a roll out of the gate. Sherfield, you already mentioned, Deontay Hardy, that yard after catch machine. But as the season goes on, Kincaid's role is going to get bigger and bigger. And it wouldn't surprise me if we have some outings where he posts over 100 yards receiving.
Kincaid is a big reason why I went with my boldest prediction for the 2023 season. Listen, he's not the most popular guy on national talk shows. I mean, one of the biggest talking points of Josh Allen right now, if you tune into ESPN, is the regression from a turnover perspective last season. Well, I think he's about to go to school on all these people. And I know a lot of Bills fans in the house are going to be excited to hear this. Listen, when he came to training or minicamp, OTAs, and he talked about being refocused, more focused on football, I think a lot of that comes from his confidence in the guy that's calling plays, and that's Ken Dorsey. It was a little bit up and down in year one for Ken Dorsey, but what I think they went out and did, they assessed this offense where they can get better. I mentioned Hardy and Sherfield. I love James Cook running out of the backfield, but more than that, I like his pass catching out of the backfield. My boldest prediction, Josh Allen goes over 5,000 yards passing in 2023. Patrick Mahomes has done it twice in his career. So just like everything else, he's got some catch-up to do, right, Josh Allen? He's always going to be in comparisons with Patrick Mahomes. I think he's got the tools, the weapons on this team, a motivated Stephon Diggs to take a run at 5,000 yards.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And listen, Stephon Diggs has been anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 yards in his stint with the Bills. Gabe Davis, in what some people considered a down year, was over 800 yards receiving. There's over 50 targets that are vacated by Devin Singletary that can go toward James Cook, some of these new targets. And with an upgraded offensive line, I think you will see some more attempts from Josh Allen this season. So I think 5,000 yards is well within reach.
You know, I think also what bakes in for this for me, and I want you to get to number 2, but before you do, I think he's going to still be a weapon running the football. You can't take that out of his game. You can't take that mentality away from him. It's what makes him special. But what I do think we've heard enough this offseason in that Brandon Bean, Sean McDermott, even Josh Allen, talking about being smarter in those situations, right? And so I think if he's going to be running even a tick less, that I think is going to put more emphasis on the rhythm of the passing game and making sure they're operating on schedule, getting the ball out of his hands quickly, and that leads to the 5,000 yards. What do you got for number 2?
Well, I'm glad you said taking a little bit away from the running game because my next bold prediction, 10 plus touchdowns for Damian Harris. Ooh. Now, I still think James Cook is running back 1 on this team, but Buffalo has tried to get that bowling ball type of running back that can get the short yards near the goal line. They tried it with Zach Moss. It just didn't work out. Damian Harris, though, great between the tackles. You bring in a road grader like Osiris Torrance on the interior of that line, Mitch Morse, and then a great competition for that other starting spot. I think that Damian Harris is going to get a lot of short yardage opportunities near the end zone. He's going to cash in 10-plus touchdowns for Damian Harris.
And there's a little bit more juice to Damian Harris's game than I think people give him credit for. We talk a lot about what he can do in between the tackles. He also looks pretty good when he gets out in his own run and on the outside. Micah Hyde knows a little bit about that from the Patriots game a couple years ago. I really like this one. And I also like this running game, whether it's Cook, Latavius Murray, Harris, Nyheim Hines, if he factors into this competition in the end. They ran the ball really well in Los Angeles a couple years ago. And I think Aaron Cromer was a big reason why. You remember the Todd Gurley years when they were really elite in the run game, and big reason was getting that offensive line right. And they've had an off season to figure things out. You mentioned Osiris Torrance. I think that's a big piece of this. I think at his best, Spencer Brown's, his highest part of his ceiling is in the run blocking department. So I'm right there with you. I really like this Harris one.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your second bold prediction?
I'm getting real bold here, folks, because the person that I'm going to talk about here next doesn't have a starting spot locked up yet on this roster. So we've talked a lot about Kaiir Elam over the course of the offseason, right? Going into training camp, he's going to be in that number 1 position battle. Cornerback 2 is something that we're going to talk about. We're going to chronicle over the next couple of weeks. But I just like the kid. I like what's behind the helmet. I like what's between the ears. He has this workman's-like focus to his game. Right now, he's I wouldn't even say he's the odds-on favorite. We talked about this a little while. I think Christian Benford is going to put a lot of pressure. Dane Jackson is still there. But I think he ultimately wins the job, and I think that he finishes this season as the number 1 player on the Buffalo Bills in terms of interceptions. I'm talking 5+ interceptions. When he played last season, he took the ball away. I'm expecting him to do it a lot this year.
Yeah, really like this bold prediction, Matt. You and I are both high on Elam in terms of when he was given opportunities last year, we saw what he could do. That Chiefs regular season game, no one's better than Patrick Mahomes at extending plays, throwing these flip passes at the last second. Elam stayed with his man to the last minute, had an interception in the end zone, made some big plays for this team. Obviously, having the NFL pedigree, his father, former player, I think that's going to all help him. The big knock on him last year were his practice habits. I think year 2, he's going to feel more comfortable. He's going to be ready to go. And, for my next prediction, Matt, I'm going to stay in the secondary. Right. And it's not a specific number, but Trey White returns to form. Trey White was coming off a very serious injury last year. Almost 1 year to the date it took him to return to the field, came back on Thanksgiving. I think whenever you have those serious knee injuries, lower body injuries, it takes a while to get used to cutting, getting out of your breaks. I think that we see a return to form for Trey White, whether that means Pro Bowl type season, being in the All-Pro mix. I think he's going to be a huge key to this team's success on defense.
I think in a lot of ways, with the question marks at CB2, he almost has to be that guy, right? Like, right now, I think we're all taking it, for granted that Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are still going to be those guys that they've been over their 6 seasons in Buffalo. They're both getting older. I mean, they're going to be back there. They went out and they signed Taylor Rapp. I really like that deal. We talked a little bit about it on the last show. But if you're talking about the leader of that group, the guy that's making the most money, the highest profile player, that's tre'davious White, and he's got to be that player for them. I think they're going to be really good on the defensive line. We're going to talk about a couple of those predictions in a minute here. But even when they're not, maybe when quarterbacks that they face, and they're facing all the best quarterbacks in this league over the course of their schedule, when they're not getting pressure consistently, that back end has to hold up, and tre'davious White has to be the main reason why quarterbacks are scared to throw against this team.
Yeah, and listen, for many years he was the reason, and they went away from him. And when they did throw, he kept plays in front of him. He made big plays when needed, pass breakups, you name it. You just saw him lacking that confidence last year, in my opinion. I think it's back. I think that he showed a little bit of that in the spring. He's going to continue that here at St. John Fisher in T-minus 10 days.
All right, so I saved my spiciest in honor of your chicken wings for the last one, but I'll give another one that I think is pretty spicy. It's right in line. Ed Oliver just got paid, right?
Big time.
Big time. Got his big contract. Not as much as Quinnen Williams, by the way. Listen, if you take – this is exactly what we were talking about with that Ed Oliver deal. You put those two deals next to each other. Now, listen, Quinnen Williams has been – maybe twice the player that Ed Oliver's been, maybe more over the course of his career. So the difference makes a lot of sense. But Ed Oliver going into a season where he just got paid, you think maybe he takes his foot off the gas a little bit. But I think the horsepower is going to go through the roof for him this season. I think that confidence that the Bills showed in him, giving him that contract, it's going to motivate him to go out and ball out. I think Leonard Floyd is the kind of co-star on that line that I think can unleash things for players on the interior, and nobody is going to benefit more from that than Ed Oliver. Now, obviously, a lot of this is going to probably be on the back end of the season because you're going to want that full complement of players, Greg Rousseau, Floyd, Von Miller when he gets back. But I got Ed Oliver finishing the season with 10-plus sacks. Talk me off the ledge here.
Well, when they drafted him, that was the big thing, Matt. This is supposed to be a defensive tackle that can get after the quarterback. I'll wait and see on that 10-plus sack total, but I think he can be a disruptor for this team. And after he signed his extension, one of the first things he said to the media was, I want people to look at this contract and say, man, what a bargain for the Bills based on the numbers that he had. And if he comes in with 10-plus sacks, everyone's going to be calling that deal a bargain in year one.
Listen, it's hot in here today. I'm not going to lie. I'm sweating. I didn't even have any tangy Talbot wings yet,
those
and
make you sweat.
I'm kind of pouring down. Big stand back here. You've been sweating all night, but I mean, you had 27 yesterday, so I get it. All right, we got a couple more to go here. I just gave my Ed Oliver one.
Yep.
Why don't you go
so
next?
I have one more to go here.
This is your last one.
This is number 4.
Now, is this the least spicy of all of them?
I think it might be the least spicy.
Right.
So my last bold take is the Bills have 2 players with 10-plus sacks this season.
Okay.
So, you just mentioned Ed Oliver. But look at this team from 1 year ago. Greg Rousseau had 8 sacks, doubled his sack total, dealt with an injury at times, wasn't able to get those last 2 sacks. Von Miller was on pace for double-digit sacks. You had Leonard Floyd, who had 9 a year ago. And then you just mentioned you have Ed Oliver. You have some other disruptors in the middle that might free up some plays or move the quarterback out of the pocket. Your Daquan Jones, your Poona Fords of the world. And if you can just move that quarterback off his mark, then your Floyds and your Rousseaus, your Von Millers, and even an A.J. Epinesa, who quietly had 6.5 sacks. Those guys can start tallying up those big plays. And, so at the end of the year, 2 players, 10-plus sacks on this defense.
Yeah, I really like this one. I think a guy like Poona Ford, we mentioned what Leonard Floyd could mean for Ed Oliver. I think Poona Ford's going to allow a lot of these guys to eat. And I mean, listen, maybe Wingnutz got to get Poona Ford out here. I think he could do some serious damage in this place. I mean, that dude is the quintessential one technique, space eating, double team seeking, and he's got kind of an attitude to his game, which I think that you like. And you got to add playmakers on that defensive line when you're trying to kind of get that sack total to go up a little bit. All right, my last one, and then we're going to change things up a little bit. We got a big time old school Bills fan of the show in the house. I'm going to bring him on the show in a second. My last one, thinking about these now, probably I could have let off with this. This is a bit spicy. I think Gabe Davis is in for a monster year. And I think that's what makes things challenging for Brandon Beane over the next couple of weeks as he deals with his representatives, because I think you're going to want to be in a situation where you get him under contract before this season. Because if he does what I think he's capable of doing, you're going to have to really pay or watch him leave next season. I think Gabe Davis goes for 10-plus touchdowns and over 1,000 receiving yards in 2023. Big reason why is because I think Josh Allen's going to throw for 5,000. So it pairs together. But I think Gabe Davis, if you want to talk about a guy with a chip on his shoulder, and we've talked about the Bills having one collectively, Gabe Davis has no doubt about it heard the murmurs of his disappointing season. I think he comes out and tries to put on a show this season.
And it's funny to think of a disappointing season being a number 2 receiver and putting over 800 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns, and that's a disappointment. He dealt with an ankle injury last year. If you look at the beginning of the season, that Rams game, first touchdown of the year went to Gabe Davis. You look at the Pittsburgh game, the 98-yard touchdown, another like a 65-yard touchdown that he ripped away from Minkah Fitzpatrick. He was on pace to have a big year, but once you suffer those ankle injuries as a receiver, the cuts, the getting out of your breaks, the creating separation, it all becomes so much more difficult. If he can stay healthy, I would not be shocked if he eclipsed 1,000 yards receiving as Buffalo's number 2 receiver.
What do you think happens with the Khalil Shakir? That's one piece of all of this that I think is the greatest unknown. I think Trent Sherfield probably, they brought him in because of his special teams acumen, and he can play anywhere in the formation. You know that Deontay Hardy could be a little bit of that puzzle piece that you try to fit in a couple different places. Shakir to me is the wild card. What do you think he ends up doing this year?
You know, I can see Shakir playing inside and outside, so there's value there. He can, when you need to get a breather for Diggs or Davis, you put him out there. Like I said, I like the way that he ended the season. 25% of the offensive snaps or more. In the playoffs, he was maybe one of their most productive receivers. Would have gone over 100 yards against Miami had he not dropped the deep ball with about 2 minutes to go in the first half. He finished with 2 for 40 against the Bengals on 2 targets in a game where that offense just could not click or get going. So he ended on a high note. It's his second year in this system, Matt, and I really think that he's kind of being slept on right now, especially a full offseason where he's put in a lot of work with Eric Moulds, another Bills legend.
So we got our own legend in the house tonight, Scott Moranto. So a little bit of a throwback. One of our first live shows ever that we did was at a place over in Sunny Reds, over by the stadium, and he put it together. He DM'd me. He DM'd Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He was at the Draft Network at the time, and I joke with him because I had him on the show the other day. I always want to say the Draft Network whenever I see him. For some reason, these were the 2 shows he listened to, our show and Locked On Bills. So he asked if we could do like a joint event, and we did one. It was awesome. And I'll never forget, you came on the show that day, and you were the first person on the Christian McCaffrey train. You were like, trade for Christian McCaffrey. Whatever team does it, they're going to go straight to the Super Bowl or close to it. The 49ers end up getting them, and we saw what that team did, and maybe not for a Brock Purdy injury, end up going to the Super Bowl last year. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you.
I'm real good. I'm like, you guys must have been big PTI fans growing up, right? Pardon the interruption.
I was a Wilbon guy, but yes.
Okay. So I'm like, Tony Reale coming in at the late spot of the show. There's a show note correction here. So you said earlier, most talked about Josh Allen piece of the offseason has something to do with his interceptions. According to my wife, it's who he's dating. He's dating a young Avenger. So show note correction, Tony Reale style. That was wrong.
I appreciate that. Listen, I want to be held accountable, and Scott always makes sure to, even in our live show, as he's in the comment section, making sure to dunk on us there. You got a bold prediction for us? What do you think of Talbot's?
Actually, before I get to the bold prediction, Bills trivia. Double-digit sacks. Do you know the last time that happened in Bills history? 2 players with double-digit sacks. Did you effort it before you thought of it?
I did not. I know, obviously one of the last players that have double digits was Lorenzo Alexander. I don't think that season they had 2. Was it a Mario Williams year?
It was a Mario Williams year.
Okay, so you had Mario and
Gary Hughes and Marcel Darius, 2014.
3 of them did.
So
You're
3
right.
of them had double-digit sacks in 2014. Last time it's happened.
There you go. That's some good
trivia.
insight there from Scott. What did you think of Talbot's for bold predictions? Was there anything that you thought was missing?
There was a surprise for Ryan. Knowing Ryan as a person, I was shocked. There was not a Tyler Bass prediction of some sort.
That's right.
Franchise record over Steve Christie, something of that sort.
Big special teams guy you are.
I
love
am.
the special teams.
I am. Last 2 years, I've done this project, Top 10 Most Important Bills. I'm the only guy that's put Tyler Bass on that list. He comes through in the clutch for this team. He helps them win close games. I think he's an important player. So big Tyler Bass supporter in terms of his importance to the team.
I like it. All right, what's your bold prediction? Drop it. I gave you advance notice. I gave you about 20 minutes to ponder it. Now, meanwhile, your 4 kids and your wife are here, and I was telling you, thank goodness they all look like her. And You were managing a lot over there, but I know you came with one fire bowl prediction. What do you got?
All right, so I thought about bold prediction. It kind of ties everything together we talked about today. Bold prediction, the Bills' O-line is good enough to get them to best yards per game average in the NFL. I think they've done enough on the O-line. It's not the biggest, baddest O-line. Connor McGovern is good enough. Spencer Brown doesn't hit his ceiling, but he's way better than what we've seen so far. They've kind of solidified things. I don't even know if the rookie Torrance starts, but I think it's good enough. The mixture with Dalton Kincaid. Look, Dalton Kincaid is not Mike Gesicki slot receiver only. I think he can block. So I think we're going to see that more 12 personnel. I think what we're going to see is the Bills running attack be the best in the league based on a yards per game average. That's my bold prediction.
How much is Josh Allen involved in that running game?
Less than you think.
Wow,
Ooh.
fire hot take. But listen, I think that lines up with everything we've been talking about. All of what Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have been saying. I think to reach the level that they want as an offense, they have to be multiple. They have to make teams worry about them in both dimensions. And I think when you have a quarterback that can throw it and sling it like Josh Allen, let those other guys run the ball. And like if he wants to go off script, great. But I think you can limit maybe what you're talking about. And I don't want to put words in your mouth. Maybe some less of those design runs.
Yeah. I think just the mixture of what they can do in 12 personnel. I think they're underplaying the fact that Dalton can block, so they can line up in personnel packages that might get nickel on the field, and you're just going to pound the ball down their throat. If you're going to play cover 2 versus Josh, you got to be able to run the ball, and I think that's the precipice of that move for Dalton.
All right, final thought, Talbot. Hit us with them. Oh, we got to tell people. How are they going to be able to get our coverage here starting next week? Give them the lowdown.
Oh, on Subtext.
Yes.
Yeah, Bills Mafia, new program coming along.
Signing up right now.
There it
there.
is.
So you can't do it till Wednesday. So, but put it in your phone, put a little reminder. Watch Shout on Wednesday. We will give you all the details of how to sign up to become a Shout Buffalo Bills insider.
That's right. So Bills Mafia, training camp right around the corner. You sign up, and we might reach out to you and say, who do you want us to watch today? You respond with some names, and we'll have our focus on them. We'll make sure to mention them in our podcast. You name it. You're going to help steer the ship of Shout, our coverage this summer, and our coverage into the regular season.
And listen, it is going to get a whole heck of a lot easier to get Wingnutz in your life. They're opening over in Amherst. You could come in here. Froth is open every single day. Have some beautiful chicken wings. And listen, I got to say, I hear that there's a Parrino wing in the work. That's just what I'm hearing. My sources are telling me that. So I'd imagine it's probably going to be better. But I got to tell you right now, the early feedback on the tangy Talbots, out of this world.
Through the roof. Now, Matt, don't we also want to mention about next month in our
Yes.
podcast?
See, listen, that's why they pay him the big bucks, because we got to make sure we get all this in. Rochester Bills Mafia, you have been asking us for a live show for years, right? I mean, to come to Rochester during training camp, we're finally doing it. August 8th, Monday night at Dorado restaurant in Rochester is teaming up with Wingnutz. Wingnutz is coming out to Rochester. They're cooking chicken wings. Shout is going to be live in person there. Dude, it is going to be an awesome time.
We're bringing our Bills takes. We're bringing our wings. We're bringing in the whole shebang, Matt. Cannot wait.
I love it that Ryan can work in the shebang. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. All right, for Ryan Talbot, my man Scott Moranto, I'm Matt Parrino from here. Bills Mafia's in the house. The Talbot clan is in the house. We'll see you next time.